Hey everybody, it's Retired at 40. Welcome back. Well, today is not the kitchen. Today we're in the freeze drying room because we're not actually going to freeze dry today. Today I'm going to show you some Harvestright hacks. And once I show these to you, you're going to wonder how you didn't know about them before. I'm going to show you how to vacuum seal ball jars and also Mylar bags. You heard me right. Mylar bags. I'm also going to show you a quick way to filter your oil if you have an oiled pump, and I'm going to do my first oil change on this green guy back here. I'm also going to show you how to make an anti-siphon setup so you stop sucking up water into your freshly freeze-dried food. We're going to do all of that coming up. So we have lots to cover today, so I'm going to get right into this. The first thing I'm going to show you how to do is to vacuum seal a ball jar using the Harvestright. And I know I've done a video on this, but I have a really nice improvement that doesn't require disconnecting the pump like it did before. And then back behind this, you're going to see this little wiring harness. You're going to pull this red clip all the way to the back, push this little tab, and this will actually just pull out. So what you're left with is an empty chamber with just your wiring harness. That wiring harness can just, you can just push that back to the back. You're not going to need that for anything. And then you're going to want to make sure that your rubber seal is on just like it normally would be. Next we're going to make sure our valve is shut like we normally would, and you're probably wondering what in the heck this thing is. We're going to get to that. So next I like to just throw an empty tray inside the chamber. And that'll give you a nice area to set the ball jars on. And you can fit quite a few ball jars in here, depending on the size, 6, sometimes even 10. But you're gonna wanna take a ball jar, you're just gonna put your cap on like you normally would, and you want that to just barely snug down on that cap. And then it's gonna go right into the chamber. And I've got a whole bunch of ball jars that I've done in the past, but I'll just recheck them, make sure that they're gonna do what we want them to do. We'll just load up that chamber as far as we can get it. So I fit 9 in there. There's a little guy all the way in the back. And this is where things begin to change from the last time I did this video. So you used to have to unplug the pump. You would plug it into a separate outlet by itself and just use that vacuum pump by itself. But now you don't have to do that. And I'm going to show you why right now. On our home screen, there's kind of a secret little thing that you can do. If you press the green leaf, it's going to take you to this testing page. And this page is going to allow you to test all of your functions of your freeze dryer by themselves without turning on everything at the same time. So this one says vacuum, and right now it's off. If we press that and wait a couple seconds, then you're going to hear our pump kick on. Now there's a couple things I like about doing it this way. One, you don't have to disconnect the pump. Two, if you look right here, it tells you how long the vacuum pump has been on. And you can also see your milliliters, which is great. That's the pressure that's inside of your vacuum chamber. I don't really have a rhyme or reason as to how long I leave them in pulling the pressure out. I usually go about a minute, and then I'll wait to see if the vacuum pump kind of gives you a different sound. Once that sound changes on the vacuum pump, if you usually give it like another 10, 15, 20 seconds, that's good enough. All right, so that's been 2 minutes. That's plenty. I'm going to go ahead and shut it off. I'm going to let my air back into the chamber. All right, with any luck, we've got some majorly vacuum sealed ball jars. That thing is on there. Look at this. There you go, fresh avocados. That's all there is for ball jars. It's super simple, and with that extra step in there, now it's even easier than it was before. And we're going to take that new step and we're going to up it one notch, because I'm going to show you how to do Mylar as well. But first I'm going to show you a tip so you can stop sucking water into your freeze-dried food that took you so long and so much preparation. We've all done it. We've had a hose sitting in the water like this. We open this and this chamber fills up with water and ruins your freeze-dried food. And then of course you have catastrophic results of just a whole batch of freeze-dried food that's hydrated again after you just dehydrated everything and pulled all the water out. So the simple solution is you buy the no suck kit from our store, freezedryingsupplies.com, or you make your own out of some plastic Ys. And it's less than 10 bucks. The first time you don't ruin a freeze-dry batch, you'll earn your money back. It's cheap insurance. It takes about 10 seconds to add it onto your freeze dryer. And let's see how that changes the situation. All right, so I want to show you that this is under vacuum, 1617. Let's open up this chamber and we'll see. Forgot to put my hose in the water. Dry as a bone. Next, I'm going to show you the new coolest hack that I found out. Someone actually from the MeWe group told me about it. If you have not joined the MeWe or the Facebook group, it's just Retired at 40's freeze drying group. I'll put a link down in the description for that. Just so you can see this work a little bit better and make it a little bit more dramatic looking so it'll show up on camera. Normally, obviously, you would have freeze-dried food in here. I'm going to take a ball jar that has some oxygen absorbers in it, and I'm just going to drop it in here. This is a very crucial step in order to maximize the space in your Mylar, and if you want to reuse it, I would seal it at the very, very top that you can. Just like that, as close to the top as you can. Then I'm going to take some scissors and I'm going to cut just the very side of this off, just so it can allow a little bit of air to go in or out. We're going to take our Mylar, we're going to fold it over like this. We're going to lean it against the side of the chamber. We're going to close it up, close our valve, turn our vacuum on just like we did with the ball jars. And then that bag is going to start to blow up. And you're really going to need to listen to your vacuum pump on this because that's what's really going to change. I'm not sure if you can hear mine, but it got a lot quieter. So we're going to shut it off. It's been about 1 minute and 30 seconds. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to let the air back into the chamber. And this will just suck all that air out of that bag. And if you did it right, it might take you a couple times to figure it out. You've got a vacuum sealed bag, but we're not done yet. We need to seal this back up. And with most stuff, this will stay vacuum sealed for a little bit of time. And it might take you a couple times to get it right, but then you're just gonna vacuum seal that corner back up that you cut. And there it is, vacuum sealed Mylar bag. It might take you a couple times to get this right. It's not an exact science. The ball jars, they work almost every time. Every once in a while you have to do a second round. The Mylar is a little bit trickier, but once you get the hang of it, it's pretty simple, and not everything is going to work. You're not going to want to do sharp foods, obviously, because they're going to cut the Mylar. And if you really want to double down, then throw an oxygen absorber in when you vacuum seal as well. And then you kind of have a plan B if you need it. Well, now that our pump is nice and warmed up after all this, I need to do an oil change in here. And what's crazy to me is that oil is still crystal clear, but I'm gonna do an oil change anyway. It's been about 15 cycles, I think. I can probably get away with another 10 or more. But I'm gonna show you an older trick that still works like a charm. In fact, I just bought a new one, and that is a Brita filter pitcher. It does a way better job than anything else that's out there that I have seen, and it's not very expensive, as long as you have some toilet paper, which might be hard to come by these days. So you might be asking if it has to be a Brita filter, and from what I can tell, I've looked at some other generic knockoff ones, and they don't have the same kind of inside, after you take all this junk out of here, they don't have the same kind of inside diameter hole as the Britas do. And I really like the Brita. I had a Brita before, and then I switched to an oilless pump, so I got rid of it. And here I am back to the Brita again. So all we need for this is a Brita pitcher and some butt wipe, toilet paper in layman's terms. And a lot of times the cheaper stuff tends to work better, believe it or not, because it's not so puffy and it has less give, because we're gonna take this and we're gonna crunch it up. So really what you wanna do is you wanna get this inside the cardboard roll. You wanna get that out of here. And then the next thing that we need to do is make sure that we can crumple this up tight enough to fit down in this hole. So we're gonna take some layers either out of the inside or out of the, off of the outside. I've also seen people cut this down this way, and then they can roll it up. I don't really like that method because it tends to narf up the side of here. So what I like to do is take it out of the inside, because that usually gets a little bit messed up anyway when you pull that roll out. So I like to take the extra that I need to take out of the inside. About like that is where I'm gonna do mine. And then I'm gonna put it flat like this, and I'm just gonna roll this up as tight as I can get that. And it should be really snug when you go to put it in the Brita filter. And the tighter you can get this, the better. It helps if you twist it. And then you're gonna want to leave a little bit coming out the top still. And that way you have something to grab onto when you're ready to take this out and switch it. So now we're ready for our hot oil. If your pump has not been running, then I would run it just for maybe a minute or two just to kind of get that oil warmed up. It'll flow a lot nicer. I usually take this top off, and then it's just a quick half turn. We're gonna fill up that whole compartment until it's all done. And another tip, I guess a fifth tip, if you want to think of it that way, is that a lot of people freeze their oil because the oil will not freeze, but any kind of water or kind of junk that you don't want to be in your oil, it'll freeze, and then you can pour the oil off the top. It kind of saves you an extra step. I like this particular pitcher because it's just about the perfect size for the Premier pump. I would imagine it's the same thing for the standard pump. This one is a little bit smaller than I used to use, but I just don't need the bigger, more cumbersome one with this pump. I think it holds a little bit less oil, and I like this one because it's just a little bit more maneuverable. I'll put the link for this one that I'm using. I think it was $15.99 on Amazon. And I like the filter because you can just use this pour spout. You can pour it right in. And actually, once this oil soaks into the filter for a while, because you'll notice that there's no oil coming out the bottom here. There's nothing in the bottom, but there is oil in the top. So we're down to our last couple drips. I'm just gonna tilt it a little bit just to get that last bit out of it. And then after this sits for, I don't know, 8 to 10 hours, sometimes overnight, we'll have some clear oil and it'll be ready to use again. Well, there you go. There's 4 Harvestright hacks for you today. These were all game changers for me, and I'm sure they will be for you too. Don't forget to join the Facebook group if you haven't, or the MeWe group if you don't do Facebook. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and click the bell to get notifications. We're gonna release a video every Sunday. Also, make sure you check out our new store, freeze-drying-supplies.com. We're going to try and be a one-stop shop for freeze-drying stuff. We'll do Mylar, oxygen absorbers, all kinds of aftermarket stuff that's gonna make your life easier for freeze-drying. We're adding new stuff all the time, so make sure you check that out. In the meantime, this is Retired at 40. Remember to live life simple. We'll catch you next week.